Good morning. Welcome to Monday. Sarah here with Liberated Badass. So, a few different things. Mostly big picture. Like there's so many things to comment on, so many things going on, and I had the realization of the weekend that putting yourself out there and act in action and putting yourself out there as a liberated badass, sometimes it gets messy. Definitely can get messy. And the cool thing that I have learned over time is that the more I do it, the more comfortable I am with it. And the more I do it, the more I get better at it. And the more the more I get to learn at the end of the day. It's like I'm doing these new skills, right? So if you're anything like me, you've been super responsible for years and years, and you've made all of the right decisions. By no means does that mean that I've been perfect, but it means that I've played it safe. It means that I've played it conservative. It means that I've played it the least risky possible, or at least I thought I was in my mind. But at the end of the day, right, risk is all subjective, really. I mean, you can weigh out risk in many different ways. So staying safe has its consequences as well. And so getting really comfortable with taking action, with putting myself out there, with speaking, with using my words, with asking the difficult questions, with pressing in to new places I wouldn't normally maybe even see, let alone entertain, and engaging in conversation, from being vocal on social media to digging in deep with some of these issues around, like right now with Black Lives Matter, and really getting in deep. I don't like being a fad. I don't like being a Band-Aid. I don't like jumping on board with some cause, some unfortunate bad thing that's happened, and then stay super excited about it for a time and then lose interest. It just doesn't feel good for me, and that super responsible part of me, it's it just doesn't feel good. And when I hashtag and or when I put my support out for something, I want to really know, in my bones, have an understanding of it. And so I did some of that this past weekend, and then I also set out into the world with some real specific intentions of how can I contribute to the solution. And I do this all the time, but this weekend specifically, I was making great intentions around how I could be doing good in the world. There's so much angst, there's so much fear, there's so much uncertainty. As you've heard me say a million times, I feel like it's always with us. Sometimes we're more just keenly aware or collectively aware. So set out into the world with the intentions of sharing love and speaking lovingly, smiling, and and then getting to test that out and feel that out and see what that looks like, because I tell you what, my smile can get me in trouble. My smile can bring out a whole new set of issues to contend with around being my super responsible person that I am liberating myself from, in the sense that my smile brings attention, right? And my body brings attention, and I choose to wear clothing that is fitting for my body. I have also liberated myself from wearing a bra, because I'm like a bee, and it's really completely unnecessary. Unless I'm running, it's completely unnecessary and a pain in the ass to wear. So I've just liberated myself from it. Anyway, there's several reasons why I get extra attention, or not extra, but I get attention. And that has been a whole work in progress of being accepting of the realities that I get a lot of attention and just people staring at me. And I'm not I only am going off of observation. There's no self-imposed people people should be looking at me. No, this is based on observation. Anyway, there have been a couple of situations over the weekend where I was getting the attention and I was aware, oh, I'm having to now filter through some of my old beliefs, because my old beliefs would have told me I have to talk to everyone that talks to me, and I have to be polite and considerate and thoughtful. And I don't, actually. As a liberated badass, you actually have permission to talk to who you want to talk to, and you don't have to talk to everyone. And that has been like a hot learning for me, because my training and my upbringing taught me to be very polite, to listen to people when they talk to you, and to not be rude. And if you watch my last video was about my time being hijacked yesterday. And then I had a couple of other situations that unfolded over the course of the day where I had opportunities to really back up that skill and be able to clearly state what I wanted with other people in the world. And I noticed that some of the times when I had the opportunity to do that, it was brought about from my smile. So, right, my intentions of bringing good into the world, I'm going to walk with you here a minute, and smiling to bring good into the world was then interpreted as, oh, that must mean something more than she's being a nice person. Isn't that fascinating, right? So like one of the men I happened to talk to yesterday where this happened, well, a couple of them over the weekend, and they both asked, do you smile like that at everybody? What's going on with the smiling? And it's not even, it's just my usual smile. And I was like, no, I smile at everyone equally. I'm an equal opportunist smiler. And of course, their immediate reaction is like deflated ego. And then we had a really good conversation. The guy yesterday and we had a really good conversation about how he didn't smile back at first, right? And he didn't smile back because he thought that I had a date with me. So we ended up having a great conversation around, why would you not smile back because you thought I was with somebody else? Like, smiling is just a universal language of communicating greeting without words and friendliness without words. And you intentionally didn't smile to me. What kind of a world do we live in where you intentionally don't smile to other people? But 100% I've been trained, well, in my previous belief and my understandings, right, that I had been trained that if I did smile, it would be eliciting attention, and that my responsibility was to not smile. And if I didn't smile, then the communication was, I don't want you to come talk to me. And if you do, well, then you're misreading the signals. Whoa, way too complicated, way too much information to have to juggle through and figure out. Like, no. My smile should be able to communicate whatever I want my smile to communicate. And my smile, the universal exchange of the smile, is simply to engage. And so he and I had a really good conversation. And yes, we talked about the differences between men and women and the risks that men have for smiling and then being told that they shouldn't be smiling, and if they drop their eyes too low, that they would be reprimanded. But really good conversation around how we are divided in so many ways, right? We've got all of this in the news right now with Black Lives Matter, and so there's like the obvious conversation to be having around that, but then there are so many more levels of layers deeper to really get clear about, does life matter? And really at the end of the day, this conversation, right, life matters, Black Lives Matter, all life matters, and then every other ethnicity, every other issue you could tag on to that same phrasing. But at the end of the day, it really is about, does life matter? And if life matters, we would all be radically doing things differently. We would all be radically doing things differently. We wouldn't be overeating, over drinking, overworking, over stressing. We wouldn't be hopped up worried about being able to smile across the bar to someone who's smiling at you. We wouldn't be worried about, should I smile down the street to people or not? I wouldn't get looks back from women my own age or older who are not thin. I wouldn't get looks from them that seem to be judging me, and I'll just say they are not smiling back at me. So whatever assumptions, interpretations you make from your own experience, they're not smiling back at me.
That's the way that you remember 2020.
That is a sad state of affairs, right? I mean, just those very basic things, forget about all of the shit that's going on. Just those very basic things, that is a sad state of reality. So the cool thing that I want to leave you with is that there is actually a lot more in our control than we think. I literally asked one question a couple days ago on Facebook, and it blew up. One question. That is like so fucking powerful. I asked one single question, and I think it was up to like 80 comments. So when you feel like it's all just going to shit, I totally agree with you. And like big picture, you know, we're either living or we're dying, and so like collectively we're dying. But in the meantime, we want to live the very best life that we can. And so like you actually have a shit ton of power. You could ask one question on Facebook. You can have a conversation with one waiter at the restaurant. You can ask him something more than about like what you need, but ask about what he needs and what's going on with him. You can smile at people wherever you go. And the cool thing is with all of these things, right, is we then have an opportunity to practice liberating ourselves, right? Because you could easily be like, oh, I don't want to smile at people because then people are going to respond to me, and then I'm going to have to deal with like unwanted attention, right? Guy stopped me this weekend, and I definitely didn't want his attention, and I was having a hard time getting away from him. And it was so good for me to have to practice liberating myself from him, right? Like instead of deciding like, I'm not going to play, I'm just going to like scoochie out and like create the bubble and not like talk to anybody and just like do my life. And instead, no, I get to like see the world as this like place that is not as scary. I get to see the world as smaller, and me being more capable of living in it confidently, like a liberated badass should, and practice setting those boundaries of what's comfortable for me, push past my polite, responsible, nice training that I've been working on for a hot fucking minute, and go bigger so that ultimately I can live a much more fulfilling and happy life. I can live a really, really good life while I'm living. And that is the goal of a liberated badass, is to live the very best life, the healthiest, fun, loving life that you can possibly live while you're living. So take all of that with you today as you go through your day. Meditate on it, think about it, really thoughtfully consider it and how it fits for you. When we cannot be true, when I am felt to make the belief that I can't smile when I'm headed down the road, I become anxious. Like anxiety results when you don't feel like you can be you, when you can't do the things that are simple and easy and make you feel good, like smiling. Whew, you start feeling anxious. And let me tell you, from an anxiety expert, professionally and personally, that is where it comes from. And I can give you 1,000 other ways that it happens, but the more you suppress who you are and who you are meant to be and who you need to be in order to live a good life, it gets pushed down, right? And you see that now with various people groups, like the Black Lives Matter movement, that feels oppressed and pushed down. It happens for all of us. It's not just happening to some people. It happens with all of us. And then what happens with our anger, when it gets suppressed down, it comes out sideways. Our anxiety, when it gets pressed down, it comes out sideways. And it impacts people in all different ways, in the most unusual ways, like where you wouldn't actually think that not smiling at someone could actually impact you, but it does. And the list goes on. Not sharing your feelings, not being able to talk to people that you love, to be able to tell them something's on your mind, something that you're feeling upset about. Like all of those small things, they stack and stack and stack and stack. And then they come out sideways in some totally unexpected way. You freak out, you drive like a crazy person, you snap at people at work, you don't get stuff done. It's all kinds of things that happens as a result. So anxiety, loneliness, they are actually like the secret killers of our life. So as that super responsible person that you are made to be a liberated badass leader. And in order to be a liberated badass leader, you gotta let go. You gotta let go of that old programming that is keeping you all balled up and suppressed, and start taking some small steps, action, to getting released and reprogrammed. All right, my loves, enjoy your day. And until I see you next, go do that thing you most want to be doing. And I'll talk to you soon.